Welcome back to week 5 of the Prop Shop. I'm your host, Bobby Stanley, also known as PropHolliday on social media, rocking with the guys from the GoldBoys, giving you our favorite bets for the Thursday night football matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. But first, Devonte Adams is on the trade block. Feels like it started when Antonio Pierce made a comment about players making business decisions. So, in turn, the Raiders will make business decisions. Then Adams has been held out with a hamstring injury, and trade talks have increased over the last few days. So, what do we know? The obvious landing spot is the New York Jets. Adams wants to be there. The Jets want him to be there. He knows Hackett's offense. He knows Aaron Rodgers. The offense of the Jets, I think it's ranked 19th overall in scoring, still feels like they're a piece away, and Devonte Adams feels like that piece. Let's not kid ourselves. It will cost the Jets likely a second-round pick and maybe some futures. I'm sure they'd love to dump Hassan Reddick in some capacity if they could. I doubt that makes it to the trade table. But let's say the Jets and a second-round pick are what does it. And for the Jets, what does that matter? It's this year and maybe next year with Aaron Rodgers. That's your window. Is worth mentioning that Devonte Adams does not have a no trade clause, meaning he does not get to pick his destination like a Brandon Ayuk did. So other teams have to be on the table besides just the Jets. It's not like he could say, send me to the Jets or I'm not going anywhere. Those teams, to me, and from what it's been circulating the last few days, the Washington Commanders, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, the Kansas City Chiefs. I really doubt the Chiefs happen just because of the divisional output, and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes need him too much. Why would the Raiders do something like that? Worth mentioning, the Washington Commanders and Pittsburgh Steelers were in on Ayuk in the offseason. Both teams are off to red-hot starts, looking like playoff teams a quarter of the way through the season. There's no reason they shouldn't double down on the stance that they're Devonte Adams away. And I would technically agree with them. So those two, I would say, at the top of my list. It would be great to get if I'm Devonte Adams and I can pick my spot. I would probably go with the Commanders. One, it's the NFC. It's a weaker conference. It's probably easy to win overall. You don't have to go through the gauntlet of Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow if he makes it there. So just on paper, the NFC seems like a safer path. As far as longevity, he's 30 years old. That's not great for a wide receiver. It's usually when we start to see a little bit of the fall off, but he could still play realistically for 4 or 5 years at a somewhat high level. Why wouldn't you want to match that with the ascension of a Jaden Daniels? That makes sense to me. Versus Aaron Rodgers, what's your window? It's this year and next year, and now you're on the Jets, who have historically sucked, and now you're trapped there at 33 years old. So long term, if I got a choice, I'd probably go with the Commanders. The cap is another piece of this. Any team trading for him will be on the hook for about $13.1 million. That number goes down by $900K. Call it $1 million. $900K every week. He's not traded until November 5th of the deadline. One last thing before we go on to the game. The best thing I've seen all day, and I don't know if anybody caught it on social media, Giants GM Joe Schoen, I don't know how you say his last name, the Giants GM, his son is sitting on the couch in the offseason bullshitting with his dad, and his dad's like, who should we draft? Who should we draft? And the kid says bluntly, Jaden Daniels, you only get this job once. You need to try to win. Obviously, they didn't draft Jaden Daniels, and his son looks like a genius. I hope to God he brings it up at Thanksgiving dinner this year. But let's talk about tonight's Thursday night football matchup, week 5. And we got the Bucs and the Falcons. This is actually a semi-exciting game. We started to see the dip, I would say, the last 2 weeks on Thursday Night Football, dip in overall quality of game. I think early on in the season, they're still fresh. They're going right into it, and we got some good matchups. And we've gotten pretty shitty. We saw I think it was 2 blowouts back-to-back weeks. The Jags being one of them, Miami being another. So I'm tempering expectations, but this actually looks like a really good matchup on paper. Atlanta, 2.5-point favorites at home. It opened up at 3. It went down to 2.5. I think the total went from 42.5 up to 43, up to 43.5, indicating it should be a higher score game. Both offenses very capable of moving the ball. Weapons out the ass as far as receivers, running backs, and tight ends. Maybe we get a Kyle Pitts sighting. I know some people in the Prop Shop Discord are very excited for him. Both teams play a zone-heavy scheme that should result in moving the chains. Maybe not explosive plays, but a lot underneath. That's been the story of the NFL all season, that those umbrella coverages are we're not seeing the explosive plays that we've seen in the past. We're not seeing the scoring or the passing touchdowns that we've seen in the past. I think it has to do with a lot of too high safeties, but both of these teams run a good amount of zone that's going to factor into some of my plays later on. Injury front, the Bucs will be without wide receiver Trey Palmer and Jalen McMillan, and no Antoine Whitfield, a defensive back. On the Falcons side, little bit safer. Bijan Robinson was on the injury report starting early in the week, limited practice. He said it was kind of normal bumps and bruises, nicks and bruises. He's scheduled to play, but it's worth mentioning it was a hamstring, and he got taken out of last game with a shoulder. So things starting to adding up a little bit. On the defensive end for Atlanta, no Troy Anderson, the inside linebacker. He's been playing really well this season, so that's going to take a hit to their defense. And with that, let's go over to my first play of the evening. Now, I put this in 2 days ago. I'm going to give you at the line. I'm tracking it out. I'm going to give it at the line that I bet it at. But it has moved away from me, which is rare. But hey, it happens. I'm trusting my handicap here. Rashad White over 22.5 receiving yards at -110. I just saw it at 20.5 at -105 before the show. I bet it again. I put another one unit on to 20.5. I'm buying the dip. Let's go into the handicap. Much has been made lately of Bucky Irving taking about 50% of the snap share over the last 2 weeks. He's played well, at least when it comes to running the ball. Rashad White, not so much. I don't doubt his value on the ground. I like White's value in the passing game, especially against this zone defense. Falcons run zone defense at the 6th highest rate in the NFL so far, and that's where he can contribute. Now, you take away Trey Palmer and you take away Jalen McMillan, and they're going to be starving for another trusted receiving target. White has caught 12 of his 15 targets this season against zone defense. He's going for 8.7 yards per reception against zone defense. His reception line is set at 3.5. It's juiced to the under. So even if he lands on 3, I still like this number at 22.5, and obviously at the 20.5 if you can get it. He has an ability to get open underneath, and that should be valuable tonight, especially with no Troy Anderson in that middle of the field. Don't let his complexion fool you. The guy's 6'4". He runs like a 4.4 40. He's been playing very good football, but he is out tonight, and I think that opens up some targets for the middle of the field. I think he's going to be in that 5 to 7 target range tonight, and there's a good chance they could be playing from behind. We'll talk more about that later. White's 133 receiving yards as a running back is 6th best in the league, behind Kamara, Hill, Jones, Robinson, and Hall, and his first name is escaped. Brees Hall, the guy who screwed us last week. So he is a top 6 receiving back, despite losing some of his snaps, and despite losing the snap share, he's still running a route on 46% of his snaps. So he's getting out there. I think the injuries to Palmer and McMillan make a difference, and they're going to need him in the passing game. And then losing Troy Anderson we could see a little bit more missed tackles there. But I think the Falcons, as far as receptions to opposing running backs, are bottom 10 in the league. They've been really good at limiting yards, and I'm going to attribute that to Troy Anderson there. But give me Rashad White over the 22.5 receiving yards. You can play it at 20.5. Obviously, I like it there if I love it at 22.5, but I'm playing it, and I bought back in. Let's talk about Caesars. Are you new to Caesars? If your first bet doesn't win, you could get up to $1,000 bonus bet back. It's a great opportunity to dive in. Check out the link in the description to learn more. You must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. So Caesars for anyone who has not joined yet. It is not one of my more common books, but maybe I'll take a look at this one. I do see occasionally some weak lines over on Caesars. And they got great commercials, which doesn't make me bet, but it's wildly entertaining. Second play of the night, another running back. Not on the receiving market, though. Tyler Algier, over 32.5 rushing yards. I did the full unit on 32.5. The line has since moved, but I went a quarter of a unit at 50 plus at plus 260. And I put a tenth of a unit at, I put a quarter of a unit at 75 plus at plus 950. I must preface this. I put this in on Wednesday morning when Bijan Robinson missed the first 2 days of practice. I love the 32.5, regardless of Bijan played or not. The 75 plus for a quarter of a unit, that was me getting ahead of if he was a late scratch. You don't mess around with hamstrings, and he has the shoulder injury. Yes, he's playing tonight. I do think he sees a normal workload, but Algier has still been producing over the last few weeks. Now, snaps he's seen an increase in snaps weeks 2 through 4. So take away week 1, it is going up every week over week. He's had 9, 7, and 8 carries over the last 3 weeks for 53, 32, and 60 yards. The Bucs are ranked 11th worst in the league, allowing 131.5 rushing yards per game, 5th worst in yards per attempt at 5. Last week, Bijan last touched the ball. I went back and checked the actual gameplay tab over on Pro Football. Last time he touched the ball in that game was the 12th minute of the fourth quarter of a one-score game, and he got yanked, and they went at Algier the rest of the way. Could that have been because of his shoulder? Could it have been because of his hammy? I don't know, but an entire fourth quarter of a one-score game, the Falcons relied on Algier, and he stepped up. I'm going to build on that. He's averaging 6.1 yards per carry, hitting both games against Tampa last season. I'm going for the latter, and I'm just expecting maybe Bijan not get so heavy on the rush. I'm sure he's going to be spread out wide for the receptions, but if his hammy gets tweaked or that shoulder starts bothering him, either way, I think we're seeing, 8 or 9 carries out of Algier, and at 5 yards per carry, this is a no-brainer for me. So Algier over 32.5. I play it safely up to 34.5. Let's go to why you are all here in the touchdown liquor cabinet. Top shelf, right out of the gate. There was really only one heavily juiced guy. It was Bijan Robinson. It was minus 120 to like minus 130, minus 110, depending on who you bet with. But I'm not going to give you Bijan touchdown outright for minus 120. That's not my touchdown betting style. But for top shelf, and I put 1 unit on this, Bijan a touchdown and 2 receptions gets me to minus 105, which is practically even money. Every game he's played this season, he's had 2 receptions. I do think he gets involved in the passing game. So Bijan touchdown and 2 reception is my top shelf touchdown workaround to get me to even money. I put 1 unit on this over on Bet365. Let's go to the mid shelf. Drake London at plus 160. I got this at Bet365 at plus 160 this afternoon, so I bet it day of. I think I saw like plus 125s, plus 130s. Getting London in this spot, I think I liked him against this zone. He does better against zone than he does against man. Everybody wants Kyle Pitts to finally break out. We are getting some Darnell Mooney. I like London to get in the end zone, especially at plus 160. And someone said I kind of look like Eminem. I used to get that in middle school. That was a real thing. Eminem's a grandpa as of today. Go Eminem. Vaca, the Vaca play of the Vaca touchdown score, and Vaca gets Vaca prices. Drake London, I was on for half a unit. Vaca, bring that down to a quarter of a unit. No sweat bets. $5, $10. You get the idea. Sterling Shepard, the former Oklahoma Sooner and wide receiver with Baker Mayfield. He got some burn last week. He got 3 receptions. We get no Jalen McMillan. We get no Trey Palmer. So does Sterling Shepard fit in that third wide receiver role? You can get it at plus 450. I gave it out in the Discord at plus 525 on FanDuel, I want to say yesterday or 2 days ago. But Sterling Shepard as a flyer who can step up, has a connection. They're missing their top 2 wide receivers, and Atlanta has been gashed in a couple situations. So give me Sterling Shepard at plus 525, or I bet it at plus 450. I still felt good about it, but that is your Vaca play. Let's take a look at the chat real quick. Is Bucky worth a sprinkle for a touchdown? It depends what you get it at. If you get it at plus 120, maybe not. If you get in that 150 to 170 range, I'd feel good about it. Yeah, still look like Eminem. Guys, let's quick recap. Vaca, Sterling Shepard touchdown, mid shelf. Drake London plus 160 half unit touchdown. Top shelf is Bijan with a tutty and add in 2 receptions to get you practically to even money. I won't give out minus 120 touchdowns. But this Tampa Bay defense gives up the second most rushes inside the 5-yard line this season. So it's a good red zone defense to attack, especially for Bijan. The 2 plays, Tyler Algier, over 32.5 rushing yards. I laddered him earlier in the week. I probably wouldn't go to 75 plus knowing that Bijan plays, but I would still play 50 plus if you can get plus 260, plus 250 in that range. And then Rashad White, I am bucking the public. I am bucking the trends. And I guess I'm bucking Bucky Irving. Rashad White, over 22.5 receiving yards. Yes, you can get it at 20.5, and I still love it there. He will be involved tonight. Mark my damn words. Before we wrap up and go quick to the chat, Mooney over 25 yards. Yeah, Mooney for 25 is definitely a same game parlay adder. He is fully entrenched as the wide receiver 2 in that offense. I came out firing on Darnell Mooney in week 1, and it did not pay off. Turns out I was just a week early. And then we have a theory over in the Prop Shop Discord about the week early bet. I was a week early on Josh Allen 2 touchdowns last week, and I really like him for 2 touchdowns this week, but that's a little foreshadowing for Sunday. Guys, thank you for tuning in. I will see you Sunday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Take a look. Take care, and best of luck.